What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Myles Kennedy album, Year of the Tiger. So, Year of the Tiger is the debut solo album from Myles Kennedy, who is known for his work with Alter Bridge and a little more recently with Slash's band, known as Slash, featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators. They have two albums. I was pretty excited for this solo album from Myles myself, being a huge fan of his work with both of these bands. I would highly recommend Alter Bridge and Slash's latest stuff, especially that first album, Apocalyptic Love, really solid stuff. However, when it was first announced, I was unsure what to expect. What would Myles sound like on his own? And with the Slash project already in play, what would a solo album even look like from Myles? What would be the point of doing something on the side from Alter Bridge? I mean, he already has Alter Bridge, he has the Slash project, so, what would be the goal of this one? I was really curious. So with all that being said, I was very excited after hearing the first single, Year of the Tiger, which saw Myles going into some new territory. The song, and as it turns out, the entirety of the album, features a more stripped down, somewhat bluesy approach. Acoustic instruments such as guitars or mandolins really dominate the sound here, though there are some great electric guitar moments, some pounding drums here and there. And there's even some more extra instrumentation in the form of strings that really build on this sound. It really works well, especially with Myles' very empowered vocals. He has a very strong voice, and there's a very strong emotional side to it as well that really gets put on display on this album. The title track, Year of the Tiger, gives you a taste of what you can expect throughout. It's a folksy, kind of bluesy kind of feel, paired with these very personal lyrics as well as some excellent melodies. A lot of these songs will really stick in your head. Speaking of the lyrics, the album serves as almost like a concept album, sort of autobiographical. We follow Myles through a deeply personal time in his life, the album dealing heavily and primarily with the loss of his father in 1974, aka the Year of the Tiger in the Chinese calendar. His father, who Myles lost at a very young age, succumbed to some sort of illness, and it was all as a result of refusing to take medical care because of religious beliefs. So the album sees Myles grappling with these issues both from a young age, both from an older perspective, having gone through this. It all comes on a very extremely personal level, giving that sort of meaning I was looking for to why he would come out with a solo record at this point in his career. And it's interesting to see him go on this sort of journey, starting at the beginning, the event, the death of his father, and following forward with that grief, and ultimately seeing how he was able to deal with that from an adult perspective. On a song such as Blind Faith, one that instantly drew me into the album, you hear Myles dealing with his father's shortcoming, the blind faith that led to his death and ultimately to leaving his family and Myles behind. The instrumentation on here is really fantastic. I love the slide guitar acoustic riff going on, the sort of restrained percussion, really adding to that stripped down feel. And just the right amount of electric guitars sort of lingering in the background. The song builds and has a big crescendo to it, as many of these do. And as I mentioned, this is a song that shows off a fantastic melodic hook in the vocal delivery that adds to the power of the lyrical depth. The Great Beyond is probably the most Alter Bridge-esque song on here. For the most part, it doesn't really sound like, Alter Bridge stripped down or Slash stripped down. There are a few instances where that kind of comes through, but it never really overpowers the sort of different sound Myles is going for here. But The Great Beyond is one of the few where I could easily hear the full Alter Bridge band really just killing these kind of heavier and darker riffs. This sound still works in the concept of the album, though, as it deals with some of the darker parts of what Myles was going through in the wake of the tragic loss of his father. And as I was sort of alluding to, songs like Devil on the Hill and Haunted by Design sort of remind me of the Slash material a bit. They sound like a more stripped down version of what they do there. Once they really get moving with that bluesy rock kind of feel and there's some riffing going on in the guitar, I could easily hear them fitting into those Slash records. For me, these songs don't quite work as well as some of the other material on here, but they aren't by any means songs I would skip when listening to the album, and admittedly, it's probably good to have a few more up-tempoed songs on here to sort of break things up. The real climax of the album for me comes in the form of Mother, Nothing But a Name, and Love Can Only Heal. These kind of three songs in a row there. Nothing But a Name probably sees Myles at his most angry in regards to the loss of his father. This is probably my favorite song on the album. Not only is the hook on the chorus just gigantic, but the lyrics really stand out to me as well. He talks about really having nothing to grasp onto, and his father only really leaving him with his family name. He talks about how he has spent most of his life trying to fill in gaps and figure out who his father really was, but there's really not much to go off of as he died when he was pretty young. And here you see Myles grappling with the fact that his father chose his religious path over him and his family and leaving them behind. But despite the darker moments on here, you have moments such as Mother and Love Can Only Heal, which both serve as a sort of light in this darkness. It's a showing that there is a lot of hope to be found on this album as well, and it reflects where Myles was and where he has gotten to at this point in his life. He saw the resilience of his mother as a sort of guiding beacon, and in moments like Love Can Only Heal, it shows him really finally coming to terms with what happened and realizing that opening yourself up to love, despite a fear of further loss, is the only way to really truly overcome the past. Love Can Only Heal is a standout for me, not only because of the lyrical content and the melody and the hooks, but just the huge crescendo that it goes through. The music really builds things up. You get a great, solo moment going on here. The song really takes you on a journey, and to me, it represents that album as a whole. Where Myles started and where he ends up. These three songs just feel like the climax for me, and the rest of the album is sort of like the falling action in what would be sort of like a autobiography or story of his life. So overall, really loving this album. I love the new kind of direction. I like that he was willing to experiment with the sound. And ultimately, the personal nature of the lyrics. It just tells such a great story. He really bears it all out on this album. So overall, I'm feeling strong 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Let me know what you think of the album in the comments, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.